Hello everyone. I have spent most of the morning grading your discussion boards on the writing process and your summary responses. So I have a little bit of feedback that I want to provide collectively, globally as a class, but you can access your specific feedback in the grade section by going to your grades. This is my test student. So if you click on the assignment, summary response, and click this section that says view feedback, it's going to bring up your document. And in that document, you're going to see the various comments that I make in the margins or on the paper. I've crossed out some stuff. And then down at the bottom, I have a giant paragraph telling you what you did really well and what would make your response stronger. So I urge you to go through and read this feedback, because just because this assignment is finished and done doesn't mean that you can't apply the commentary and the feedback from this assignment to your next assignment. So think of it as kind of that whole writing process thing where you learn from the feedback and the constructive notes on this assignment, so in the future you don't make those same kind of errors. So please go through, read your commentary, let me know if you have any questions, but I want to address collectively some of the observations that I made from you guys as a class. These were the most common issues that I had class-wide, and I don't want you to be discouraged, because I know that you guys are, I mean, the reason that you're in this class is to learn. So and that's kind of how I'm approaching this. So in the future, you'll know kind of some expectations. So the first thing I want to mention is that when you are providing a summary or an analysis of any kind of text, you always want to introduce the author and the title of the article. A majority of you were like, in the article, or this is about blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know what this is, and I don't know who you're talking about. So you have to give credit to the author, because you're summarizing, you're responding to her ideas, and the title of the article, because she's written a lot of things. Or, you know, if you just say in this article, well, what article are you talking about? There's millions of articles out there. So really be specific about the author and the title. You've got to give those phrases of attribution and that credit, and let your reader know that, hey, this is what I'm summarizing, this is what I'm responding to. And the title of hashtag shame on you should be in quotation marks. Okay. Speaking of the author, you always want to introduce the author first by her first and last name, his or her first or last name. And then after that, you can just call him or her by their last name only. You never want to refer to the author by first name, because I mean, you don't know Kathleen like that. You don't know her well enough to call her by her first name. It's a sign of respect, and it's showing the reader that you have kind of a respect for her credibility and a respect for her authority. Just think about it like this. You would never come up to me and say, yo, Nikki, what's up? Because we don't have that kind of relationship. Just like you don't know Kathleen Fitzpatrick personally or on a level where you could call her by her first name. So keep that in mind. That goes for any author. Last name or first and last name. The second person, you, and this is something that I think all writers struggle with globally. Um, Academic writing does not cater to the use of the second person you. It creates an inappropriate relationship between the author and the audience. So, for example, when you call the reader you, you're making assumptions about that reader that may or may not be true. Like, you shouldn't go on to Twitter and tweet things that make you angry. Fair enough, but that's assuming that me as a person, that I have a Twitter account and that I go out and do those things. I don't. Or to put it in another way, you should quit smoking. Well, that's making the assumption that your reader smokes, and they may or may not. So you want to avoid the use of the second person, that second person you, at all costs, because not only does it have this weird kind of relationship between the audience and the author, it also creates these kind of weird subject verb or subject object grammatical issues. So please avoid the use of the second person you. Be specific. A lot of you guys were using vague pronouns like it, um, or this. This is bad because, well, what is this? That's wrong because blah, 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 blah. Well, what is that? Be specific, or the topic, the issue, things like that. Be clear and be specific about what you are talking about. Otherwise, we don't know. That helps make your writing clear and concise and leaves very little room for misinterpretation. Make sure you read closely. And what I mean by that is that while Kathleen Fitzpatrick is definitely talking about social media, specifically Twitter, her text and her argument go beyond the scope of social media and online communication. It's about how we've lost the ability to give and receive constructive feedback, and that we don't have the ability to have open, meaningful discussions. She's not saying that disagreement is a bad thing. Quite the opposite. She encourages thoughtful, or in her words, critical debate. But we've lost that ability. Instead, we attack, we shame people for believing things that are different than what we believe, and automatically, you're bad, you're wrong because you don't think the same way I do. And that's not good, both in from the writing standpoint and for us culturally, because it'd all be pretty boring if we all thought the same way. So what I'm going off on a tangent. What I mean is really be specific about the larger message that she has here. And I wanted to mention this specifically because most of you said that this article was for all social media users. Well, it's not. She specifically addresses the scholarly community, and making the assumption that this was written in the Chronicle of Higher Education. We can make that assumption that it is for scholars. And that's important because who's supposed to teach you how to think? Who's supposed to engage in thoughtful, critical debate? Well, that's what the scholarly community is built on. But anyways, that's besides the point. My point is really look beyond that kind of surface level reading. Give credit. If you decide to use the words of the author in either your summary or response, you have to give them credit. You have to put direct quotation marks around the words or phrases that you borrow from the author. Otherwise, it's a form of plagiarism. And then finally, development. A lot of you guys made some really thoughtful points, but you have to take it farther and explain the so what. Why should we care? Why is it important that we don't lose the ability to have thoughtful conversations? Or why is it important that we practice these skills on social media platforms? Because, well, it really, the way we engage with each other via text, via any kind of form of technology, specifically online, that transcends to how we talk to one another face to face. And very, I think one of the kind of implications to what you're saying is we're losing the ability to do that. So make sure you explain why it matters, why we should care. That's the so what. And things to avoid like the plague. You want to avoid these empty, fluffy personal phrases like I believe, in my opinion, I feel. And remember last week we talked a lot about tone, and the tone of academic writing, which is the kind of writing that you guys are doing. It really, you really need to have an authoritative tone, one that makes you look like you have conviction in what you're saying. And by adding phrases like I believe, in my opinion, I feel, it's obvious, or I think. I feel that purple is a beautiful color. Well, okay, obviously I feel that way, I just said it. Or obviously I think that way because I'm writing it. Get rid of the middleman and just say purple is a beautiful color. That sounds way more authoritative and way more confident and way more self-assured than, well, I feel, well, it's just my opinion, it could be wrong. You really want to give your reader the sense that you have authority, you have conviction in what you say. Otherwise, they can easily dismiss it. So, finally, follow directions. A number of you didn't answer, a lot of you didn't answer the questions at all. And some of you didn't answer them with complete sentences, things like that. It's so important, guys, to just follow directions, not just for, my class, but in all classes in general. So that's it in a nutshell. These are my observations. Take them for what you will. I know this is a learning process, right? I'm not like saying you didn't do this. No, this is an opportunity for me to explain some of the comments that I made in your documents, in your assignments, and please take what I say and apply it to the next writing assignment, because these things build on each other. So with that, that's all I have for you, and I'll be in touch.